Welcome to the Taylor Made Tasty podcast. I'm Taylor, retired serial quitter turned goal boss coach, speaker, and consultant. I believe a beautiful life starts with a beautiful mindset. Join me as we amplify confidence, resilience, and actionable tools on the road to quit quitting on you and your vision. You are worthy of your goals, so let's go get there. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Taylor Made Tasty, the podcast. In a few episodes now, I have spoken about my big scary goal for 2022 is to run a marathon. On the road of training, my 5K was completed in January and the next milestone was a 10K. This past weekend, I was able to check off that goal. Woohoo! So in this episode, I want to share my 10K story with you because taking your body to the limits physically is so often such a mental game, and my mental warfare was working overtime during this race. The actionable tools of this episode will be about when workouts, races, or any physical activity gets hard, how to work on your mindset in the moment, along with how to prepare for those tough moments. I also want to discuss some rapid fire race day preparation methods for my running listeners towards the end of the episode. If you're anything like me, after I have dinner, I get so excited about picking my dessert. Being on an intentional wellness journey means I choose wisely when it comes to my sweet treats. That's why I love grabbing a bag of Pink Panda candy. Each bag contains 50 grams of candy with only 2 grams of sugar, and at 90 calories, it fits perfectly with my wellness goals. Pink Panda candy offers 3 flavors: Astro Blasters, Treasure Chews, and my personal favorite, Peachy Hearts. They are vegan, gluten-free, and made in the US. Head to pinkpandacandy.com and use code TaylorPanda10 for 10% off. Pink Panda Candy. Don't sweat the sweet stuff. Since it's episode 10, recapping my 10Ks seemed very appropriate. But first, I want to go through some running updates. Since the last episode that we talked about running, a few updates have happened. So I had come to the part in my training with the Couch to 10K app that I was running 17-minute intervals. And I hit my longest run of 4.5, and I was so excited. And then I was dead. I was dead for the following week. I couldn't even move, and my legs and my shins and my calves and everything. And I have done so much work with figuring out the right shoe for me, the right size, how my form looks with striking and all of the things that you're supposed to do. So for me, it was like, I think I just overexerted my body with those 17-minute intervals. And someone towards the beginning of my running messaged me about the Jeff Galloway method, but I was so new and just following my Couch to 5K plan and then the Couch to 10K plan that it didn't register for me to really do my research on this. So following that complete soreness, I started to do some research and came across the Jeff Galloway run, walk, run method. So thank you, Instagram friends. Sorry I didn't put 2 and 2 together the first time you messaged me, but really this Jeff Galloway method he's become my new BFF. JG, he is my new BFF. I've done a ton of research of just the data that shows, in fact, over time that with the run, walk, run method, because your body has time to recover, many people have actually finished races faster than if they run the whole time. Now, this goes person to person, and I understand that. And there are some people that are going to be out there running their, 6-minute miles, and they're fine. But essentially, the interval training is based on this graph, and he's created that you look at your mile pace and determine your intervals. So when I first started, I was doing 30 seconds of running and 30 seconds of walking. Now, this is a huge difference between running for 17 minutes and taking a 1-minute break. And I definitely experienced faster recovery. And also, what's really attractive about his training plan is that it takes less time in your week. So the Couch to 10K app, at some point, you're running 6 days a week for X amount of time, an hour plus, depending on what your goal is that day. Where his plans have 3 days of running with only one long run that you typically would stack on a weekend, and then your 3 days of cross training, 1 day of rest. So your 2 days, you have one long run and then 2 days of running throughout the week, but those are only 30 to 45 minutes. So it's definitely something that can come into your life and be just a little bit more approachable. He works with Run Disney, so all of his programs are actually available for free that you can see. He has a 5K, he has a 10K, he has a half, he has a full marathon, and then he also has some advanced versions as well. And since using his method, I have only had one tough day, and that was really following my biggest milestone to date, which I ran 7 miles. What the hell? 7 miles. So these intervals have really been a game changer, especially from my running history, lack of experience, and just like overall strength and build. I really have found these intervals to be more approachable and to give me the distance that I'm looking for to create that endurance and push through. And I was asked on Instagram if I will continue the intervals through the half marathon, and the answer is absolutely yes. Like, I will be doing the intervals from now on, really. So I did amp it up from 30-30 to 60-30. And I think for me right now, that's where I plan on staying, because that's what I did in the 10K. So the 10K was my first racecation, as it was, race vacation. So my first racecation, and the first time going to the Texas coast, which was really cool, really beautiful. I was really surprised, but it felt like the California coast. And so when we first got there, I went with my dog and my husband. So when we first got there, scoped out the location because I wanted to see, what does this look like? What am I getting myself into? If you listened to the episode of the 5K from Hell, you know that the terrain and the elevation was something that I was quite surprised by and challenged by in the moment. So I just wanted to see what I was in for. And I had previously emailed the race director, and she said, yes, we're at sea level. It is flat, but I wanted to see it with my own eyes. And so we drove over there, and the course is gorgeous. You're going along the beach, and there's just these beautiful docks, and then on your other side, you have greenery with grass, and the birds are flying, and it's really gorgeous. And so I was pumped, amped, just feeling really, really good about knowing where I was going, what I was expecting, all of those things. So we check into our Airbnb, which was about 15 minutes away from the course, and got water in, got all my electrolytes in. We cooked a super solid pre-race dinner that had some carbs and high in protein, and it was just like perfect. And I felt really solid going to bed and like, okay, I am prepared for this. I feel mentally really good. My body was a little bit sore, but I still felt super positive. And I have the worst time sleeping before a race. Like, before the 5K, I slept like garbage. Before I ran the 7 miles, I think it's just definitely a mindset racing thing of excitement and worry and all the things that come into it. And so I took some CBD gummies and I was still amped up. Like, I slept here and there. I'm also not in my own bed. And Montana was there and he is like waking up for every little sound that's going by because he's not in his own bed. So I slept, but not great. But that didn't stop me from waking up feeling really good still. And I took Montana for a walk. I got to see the sunrise, and I even ran around a little bit during his walk just so I could see, like, okay, how are my legs feeling? What's going on? Are there any pains coming up or anything? And so we arrived at the starting line, we got our bibs, and we walked to the beach a little bit. Everything was so good. And as it got closer, we started listening to like the race director and talking about the course and explaining that there was going to be a medal ceremony and all of these things. And so we're starting to line up and I get pre-race jitters. And I didn't have this before the 5K, I think because it was just pure panic of like, oh my gosh, look at these rolling hills. But I start shaking, like I am nervous. I'm just feeling all the nerves going into this. And so I had my music on, and you have to so there's like so much that goes into racing. And that I have my vest with my water and make sure that I have like energy chews or goo or some sort of protein snack or something. And then, electrolytes on me, and for me I wear braces around my knees and just like the proper socks and the proper shoes and all of that. But then the other aspect is you also need to like have all your technology in order. So I have my music queued up on Spotify. I have what's called a Strava app open, and that records your pace, and it has a GPS to the route as well. And then I have new is my intervals app. So that calls out, okay, work for 60 seconds, okay, walk for 30 seconds. And so it's very helpful because if you're staring at your clock the whole time trying to do these intervals, it's going to feel so much longer. So I have all these things queued up, ready to go. And something cool and exciting is that my husband started running with me after, if you've listened to his episode about men and mental health, we had a conversation about his mental health, and he decided that he wanted to start running as well. He wanted to start moving his body more, getting more nourishment in. And so he's been running with me for about a month and decided that he wanted to do the 10K too. And so our plan was that he would do the front 3 miles with me and then run his race for the back 3 and do his thing and, go all out and whatever he felt comfortable with and empowered to do. So that was exciting. Mile 1 to 2 was pretty smooth. My headphones, speaking of this technology, my headphones kept disconnecting on mile 1. And so I was getting like so irritated. And so my husband was like, okay, get the case out, open the case, put the headphone back. And he's trying to hit the Bluetooth on my phone while I'm trying to mess with the headphones. But what was interesting about that is that within that whole mess, my mile 1 was actually my fastest mile, I guess, creating a distraction or something like that. And so we run the mile 1. At this particular race, there is a 2-mile walk for whoever wanted to participate in that. And then there was also a 5K. So as we're going into mile 2, some people are already running back for this 5K. You know, they got their 7-minute mile and they're just like hauling back already. And so then we're pushing through, and the scenery is still really cool. And part of the race, you get to go through these beach houses, and well, not through the house, but around them. And this particular beach, I guess, is known for having these really colorful homes. So you have this like bright salmon, and then you'd have this bright teal, and it just was so gorgeous to look at. Right after mile 3, we got to a mural, which was a butterfly, and Dustin's mom, who's no longer with us, she comes to us through butterflies, and it was cute because it's on the beach. The butterfly had little crab claws, and at the end of its wings. So I'm like, babe, go over there and let's take a picture. So, you know, we're having fun. We're getting through it. And at the turnaround for the 10K, Dustin was meant to do his own thing. And when I got to that loop, there was a golf cart, and it was in my way. And it's like, okay, you can see that I'm running and I'm going to turn around. Like, why would you get in my, why would you roll up and get in my way? So I had to run around it. And it was weird because as I ran past it, it started to turn around. And that's when it started to get tough for me. So I'm fixating on what is this golf cart doing? Like, why is it near me? And because it's a beach town, golf carts are everywhere. That's how they get places. So I didn't really at first understand that this golf cart was like part of the race. And then another aspect is that the clouds are starting to part, and the morning beach fog is starting to burn off, and the sun was shining bright AF, and I'm starting to get really hot. And then I hear this like gas motor golf cart start creeping up, and I turn around, and it clicks for me that they're following me and that I am the last person on this race. And not only are they following me, they're following me very closely. Now, I have one headphone in, so I can hear most things because Dustin and I were talking to each other throughout. And in this moment, I immediately start to spiral. I'm focusing on being the last person. I'm focusing on how hot I was, focusing on the golf cart, and just wishing they would go away and move further back, or, move further back so I can't hear them. Like, I genuinely get into a place where I just want to turn around and just give them like 2 middle fingers, and I'm doing the damn thing, but can you just like back up? Can you go somewhere else, be somebody else's problem? And so I was like, okay, I'm getting into my head. Maybe my body needs a bit more energy. So I tried to grab one of my running snacks, and that bag was giving me trouble. And so there was just this like combination of things in this moment. And I went into the race knowing that it was going to be hard, but then I started to focus on the fact that it was hard. And what honestly kept playing over and over in my mind was that when the race announcer said, we have a medal ceremony after this, so 10Kers don't take that long. And I fixated on that phrase of like, oh man, okay, I'm on mile 4 to 5. They're trying to do this medal ceremony. What if they're already doing it? I already saw these 5K people running back. Like, he's talking about me. I need to hurry up. And I also kept thinking ahead, like, not being present. I was not being present, and I kept thinking ahead, like, I can't even get through this. How am I going to get through a half marathon? How am I going to run a full marathon? And thank goodness, my amazing, good man, kind-hearted husband, like, immediately noticed my mental shift and said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying with you. You need me more than I need to finish this race at the time that I thought I was going to, or whatever. And he's just such a good man, but that also added to me feeling bad too, because I was like, I want him to get a time that he's proud of. And although, his training was very minimal for this, like, he's showing up, he's doing this for his own mental health. And I wanted him to take that journey for himself. But as we talked about in that episode of men and mental health, being in a partnership, being married, being in a relationship, a friendship, sometimes somebody has to be the pillar and somebody has to be the one that's leaning on that pillar, right? So he was being my pillar. He was being the ultimate hype man. I mean, you came here for this. That finish line is yours. You woke up today for this. You can do this. You're doing great. And I know how poor my mental state was, because there were times where I was telling him, like, let's just be silent. Let's just be silent for the next minute that I run. Because these positive things were just so hard for me to hear in that moment. And I just couldn't take them in anymore. And so he's doing this thing that's so amazing. And I don't want to be just like, shut up. I want to be miserable right now. And he's trying so hard. So I'm just like, okay, let's be silent. Let's be silent. And I'm trying to take in this positivity and like feel it, because I know he's feeling so awesome. Like, he's out here doing the damn thing. He's feeling those same things that he's saying to me. And so for that last half mile, my husband ended up taking off because he wanted to get a video and pictures of me crossing the finish line. And I started to breathe and take in what he was saying. And I was worried about being last and taking too long, when really my only goal that day was to finish the race. That was it, on my own on my own terms. I didn't come to win a medal. I didn't come to hit some sort of PR. Like, I showed up today to finish this race. That's what my milestone says. Complete a 10K. And so I took out my phone and recorded my mile 6 video and reminded myself that this race was me against me. And in that moment, Eminem's Lose Yourself came through my headphones, and that was it. I just started running. I just started running towards the finish line, and nothing else. Like, I can't tell you what that scenery was for that last half mile. I was just focused on, I could see the tent, and then after a while I could see the finish line, and then after a while I could see my husband, and I was avoiding the fact that I could see the freaking golf cart, which was just right up on me. And so I finish, and I go through the finish line, and I hold my hands up high for 1 second, and then I, pretty much collapse into my knees here, and I lose it. I cry, and I don't have the runner's high. I don't feel overly excited. I just cry that I did it, cry that I didn't enjoy the process, cry that I was so thankful that Dustin was present. But in that first episode of the podcast, I share my story of how I complete an intense hiking challenge of 52 hikes in a calendar year. And while I enjoyed the scenery, I looked back at that year and realized I didn't enjoy the process, and that I would be what my husband calls the angry hiker, who we know shifted into the angry runner, is a point he made this weekend. And while I can own that there was some regression to that mentality of doing the damn thing but being negative during the journey, I never once said, I can't do this. And that was my go-to statement on these hikes was, I can't do this. I am too fat for this. I can't do this. Everyone is passing me. And I knew I could do it. I had done it before. I ran 7 miles a few weeks ago, which I am so thankful for. In that moment, I was so thankful that I knew it was possible. And I see the real value in JG's method where he actually takes you beyond your goal prior to the race. And I knew it was possible because I had done it before. And another slap back to reality is when I took my phone out and I saw that my pace was 15 seconds less than my training time. My race pace was 15 seconds less than my training time. And all the grief and all the mental BS, and here I was crushing my training time by not just a few seconds, but 15 seconds. And I was actually doing some active recovery on the bike this week and started reflecting on the race. And in any race, someone has to be last. It's how it works, right? You have a certain amount of people, somebody's going to be last. It's just how it is. And that got me thinking, I am grateful I was last. I am thankful that I took that place, and for a few different reasons, in that I have done so much mindset work that this race / the place that I ended up with as dead last only made me stronger mentally. In that I will sit here and I will reflect on what worked in the race and what didn't work in the race, and I will take that into my next run, into my next race. Where I think about, I'm such an empath, and also in the business that I have, I think about someone else who might have been last but hasn't done the work to own how badass they are. And instead, they would have fixated on being last and maybe not shown up again. Maybe not ever ran again. Maybe never went to another race again, right? Like fixating on that because they haven't done the mindset work to own their resilience and stand back up and do it again and do it better, right? And that this race, the reason that this race is a stepping stone to a bigger end goal. This was just a milestone. This was a milestone that was crushed regardless of my place. And now that I've experienced last place, I have the opportunity to show others that it doesn't take away from the goal. I still finished. I still completed what I showed up to do. I didn't quit, and I never said the words, I can't do this. And I want to practice what I preach. And I always say, you won't care how long it takes to get to your goals if you actually freaking get there. I didn't care how long it took to get there. I got there. It was all the other mucky muck that was coming into my brain that was ruining the journey of getting there, right? But I still got there. So this made me feel like, you know what? I need to reach out to some badass people that I want to know when these things happen, what are the actionable tools via words of affirmation that you can have in your back pocket when workouts get hard, when races get hard, or just life gets hard, right? And so here are some of my favorites that I want to share with you. It doesn't get easier you get stronger. Keep moving legs one step at a time. You have brought me this far in life, and I know you won't stop here. That's so true for so many things, right? Keep moving your mindset. Keep moving your legs, like one step at a time. You're one thought at a time. You've brought me this far in life, and I know you won't stop here. I love that. Just this moment, just this breath, just this moment. Smooth and strong. I didn't come this far just to come this far. Even if I'm dead last, I'm still finishing. Pain is temporary. Pride is forever. Is it hard? Good. It's supposed to be. And this is my personal favorite. I'd rather be breathless than basic. I love that one so much. I'd rather be breathless than basic. That's that whole idea of like you showed up today. And I love that so much. And in a separate conversation with a friend, she mentioned this actionable tool, which I love and I wanted to share. And so she says, one way to keep my mind preoccupied and distracted from any negative thoughts and how tired I was to constantly set little goals for myself throughout the run. Like I'd be counting down the miles, or if I wanted to walk, I'd think, okay, just run to the next tree. Just run to the next light post. Little goals that I know I could accomplish, but that would still be challenging. And I'd literally imagine a little finish line as I accomplished that goal. Boom, did that, next. So I'd be feeling all sorts of accomplishments throughout. Then I'd be on to the next goal. It was just little things like that, but it helped a lot with distraction and did make it go faster. So I thought I would share that because I definitely love smaller milestones, as you know, and think that this can be so beneficial when it comes to running goals or races or really any physical activity that you do. You can create little milestones with yourself throughout. And so now I want to do a rapid fire of a few things that absolutely did work in regards to race prep. And that is leading up to race day, hitting electrolytes every day, even if you're not working out. Slowly adding more carbs like 3 days before instead of high amounts the night before the race. So I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of The Office where right before the race he pounds fettuccine Alfredo and he goes, Michael Scott goes to run, and of course he's dying. And so yes, there is this concept of carb loading. But in my research, I found that if you slowly add carbs a few days before versus a high amount the night before the race, it has a very similar effect. So I would be doing peanut butter on toast or peanut butter on rice cakes, things like that, a few days before. And then eating 2 to 3 hours before the start of the race. So I did make a PB half sandwich the morning of the race, had it about 2 hours before the race started. Felt really good about that. Also got some water in prior to the starting line as well. So trying to get maybe 8 to 10 ounces of water before the starting line. Eating full fat Greek yogurt before bed on the night before any run, but before a race is another helpful tool. Like magnesium before bed, it helps in repairing your muscles. And then this was actually the most interesting one that I learned and started reading up on, is there is such a thing as overhydrating, which is basically counteracting your electrolytes because you have added too much water to your body. So the research that I've done actually empowers you to keep normal hydration leading up to a race. that your pee should be like the color of a straw. But this was interesting because I think that's exactly what happened with my 5K. We had friends in town. We went out the night before, and because I refused to drink leading up to a race, I was like, I'm not having any drinks whatsoever, no shots, nothing. And so I was pounding water, and I had already gotten in my normal hydration, but then at the bar, every drink I'm taking, I'm just like water, 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 water. And so I actually think that plays into my 5K story as well, because I think I was overhydrated and therefore diluted the electrolytes that were in my body for sure. And then quite possibly the most important thing here is try your hardest to get your number 2 in before your race. And this is a common practice. Even if you have to use a toilet at the start of the race, like, know that you are not alone. But getting your number 2 done, your body will thank you, and you will just like not have to worry about it while you are on the racetrack. And it is a game changer. Let's just say that. I have been lucky enough that happened for my 5K and my 10K. So thank you, number 2 gods, for helping me out in that way. So on a more serious note, though, the hard moments in life are what you have been building towards. That yes, the days and the runs and the races and the workouts and the goals and the accomplishments and the magical days should be celebrated, but everything that you have done leading to the moments where the races are hard, where the workouts are hard, where living life is hard, where working towards your career and ultimate goals is hard. You have worked for this. This is the reason that we do mindset work. This is the reason we do mindfulness work. This is the reason we work on self-talk and not comparing and feeling worthy and feeling enough and all of those things. The reason we do that work and listen to the podcast and read the books and get coaching is for these moments where it's hard and it doesn't feel doable and you're questioning your capabilities and you're questioning if you belong in this space. All of that work leads to those moments. And although even in those moments, it may not look beautiful, it may look messy, you're still doing the work. You have the potential, you have the resilience, you have the capability to stand back up, to come back stronger. And you work and you work and you work on that muscle over and over by going through the days that are the hardest, like going through those trying times that are the hardest. That is where the true magic happens, and you reflect what worked, what didn't work, what can I learn for next time, how can I be better, how can I come back faster, how can I come back stronger. Those are the moments that we do all of this pre-work for those exact situations. All right, y'all, it's time for the quote of the episode. The quote is from Jonathan Mills and spoke to me because this journey, life, goals, and your vision towards your dreams is all about resilience. And even as I am successful in business with coaching women about goals and mindset, I myself am making progress every damn day too. And the quote is, successful people demonstrate their resilience through their dedication to making progress every day, even if that progress is marginal. Take that into your week, your month, maybe even your year, and own the little things you can do each and every day that align with your end goals. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my community. I'm so glad you showed up today, and let's go get there. Look at you, crushing it. thank you for joining me for another episode of the Tailor Made Tasty podcast. My hope is you always leave with a takeaway to implement in your own goal-crushing journey. I would love if you could take a moment to leave a review. And if you're looking for a community of goal boss badasses just like you, be sure to check out tailormadetasty.com/membership.